This week I feel like a DJ because I had somebody send me a comment and a video request, and I'm usually not one to do video requests, but this was something that I was contemplating talking about anyways. Someone had to send me a DM and actually comment about it as well. So let's talk about it, and that is, should you re-enlist into the Marine Corps in 2023? Now, 2023 is irrelevant. It just happens to be 2023. That's what I'm talking about. But this is a really important topic because I get asked that a lot. Am I going to re-enlist? Should they re-enlist? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So instead of me individually answering questions and DMs and things like that, why don't we just make a video and say why you should and maybe why you shouldn't re-enlist in the Marine Corps in today's day and age. So with that being said, let's go. When it comes to re-enlisting in the Marine Corps, a lot of people have mixed feelings about it because there's some people who join the Marine Corps who are like, hey, I'm going to be doing 20 years, 30 years, I'm going for the long run. And then after 4 years, they get burned out and it's like, hey man, what happened? It's like, ah, shit, man, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Then you got people like me who come in the Marine Corps. It's like, hey man, coming in, I'm going to feel it out, kind of see how it is. You know, year one, year two, I was like, man, I'm doing my 4, getting out, doing something different. And then when reenlistment time comes around, you start thinking about it more and more. And you're like, huh. And I was like, you know what? Marine Corps is really not that bad. The unit I'm in right now is bad, which I'll get to back in a minute. You know what? Let me give this another shot. And I know if I reenlist one time and do 8 full years in the Marine Corps, by then I'm going to know whether or not I like this or I don't. Because if after 8 years you don't know whether or not you like something or not, that's a problem. And I think you're the problem, not necessarily the Marine Corps or organization for that matter. So should you reenlist? Well, I can't answer that question for you because who am I to tell you what you should be doing with your future? And I mean that like sincerely too, because I have people who ask me like, really, should I do this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, what's your situation? Why are you thinking about doing it? And why are you thinking about getting out? If you do get out, do you have a plan? That's like the number one biggest thing that people often overlook. And I don't know why. Like, hey man, I am in the Marine Corps right now for my first war, whatever. I have, I get paid twice a month, the 1st and 15th. I have healthcare, I have food, I have housing, I have this, I have that. Cool. When you get out without a plan, guess what you lose? Everything. You become homeless technically because you don't get paid anymore. You lose your benefits after, I think it's like 6 months, you lose your healthcare, whatever. The case is, you lose all your stuff when you get out if you don't have a plan. And I know people who are like, I'm fine with that. I'd rather get out. And I'm like, that's stupid. Like, you can dislike something as much as you want to dislike it, but if you don't have a plan, you're setting yourself up for failure. And it'd be one of those statistics, those homeless veterans, which, I mean, it's just a shitty all around thing, but they do exist. And I'm not saying that it's because they don't have a plan or whatever, but if you don't have a plan, you're more likely to become something along those lines. Again, just speaking in general terms here, don't get it twisted, but, have some consideration. And again, when your leadership, because we're on this topic already, get involved with your getting out of the Marine Corps process and your first sergeant or sergeant major or your platoon sergeant, whoever is saying, hey man, do you have a plan? And you're like, yeah, get out of my business. Why are you being so nosy? It's because they care. And I know not everyone does. They should, but most do, okay? I've met people who just don't give a shit and they're shitty Marines and they shouldn't be in the Marine Corps. But the majority of us, and I say us because I am one of them, really do care about what you're doing when you get out. Are you set up for success? Do you have a plan? And I'm not the guy that's like, you need the Marine Corps. You're going to be nothing without the Marine Corps. Man, I know people who get out of the Marine Corps who are way, way more successful than when they are in the Marine Corps. So don't get that twisted either. But if you tell me, hey, Gunny, I'm getting out of the Marine Corps. Cool, man. What are you going to do? I'm going to go do this. Here's my plan, da-da-da. Fuck yeah, man. Awesome. Crush it. Make it happen. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. But if you're like, hey, Gunny, I'm getting out of the Marine Corps. Cool, man. What are you doing? I don't know. Okay. What are you going to do for work? I'll figure out when I get out. Okay. One red flag. Where are you going to live at? I don't know, man. Me and a friend, maybe we might rent a place together, whatever. What do you do for work? I might work at McDonald's or whatever to make ends meet while I go back to school or figure things out. Okay, man. Or I'm going to go back home with my parents. Nothing wrong with that, but you left the house once. Why would you go back? That's just my 2 cents. But if you have to, you have to. It is what it is. But the point is, those who have plans, awesome, man. All about it. For those that don't have plans, if you still, at the end of the day, want to get out, for whatever reason, by all means, go for it. I am not the one to hold you back. I'm not going to be the one to say yes or no. I might give you some advice and say, here's what I think, but it's just what I think, just my 2 cents. What you do with that is on you. So reeling back real quick, let's talk about reasons to get out. Leadership, that's a huge one. And that's why I almost got out my first enlistment too, because at the time, my leadership sucked. I'm just straight up. I did not like my leadership. I did not like the way they were doing business. I did not like the way they treated us. It was just shitty. But this was also back in 2011, 2012, when I was coming up on my first reenlistment. We're in 2023. Things have changed dramatically since then. Trust me, they've changed a lot. Not trying to be that guy back in my day type bullshit, but it really has changed for the better now than it was back then. But my leadership sucked. I had a bunch of guys come from Okinawa who were Okie Marines who thought they were just some bad MFs, and they treated us all like shit for no reason. And it was just terrible. And I was like, man, screw this. I'd rather get out of the Marine Corps and go do something different than deal with this day in and day out. But it was also my higher leadership too who did nothing about it, a whole bunch of other things at the same time. But my point is, guys, I was got out because of leadership, which a lot of people even today still get out for. But here's one thing I will tell you when it comes to that. Every single unit in the Marine Corps is different, okay? I have a communications background, so I went to like communications units. If you're in a different infantry, MOS, logistics, whatever the case is, you're gonna be in different units. But I'm telling you, the Marine Corps is not just one unit. I would never tell somebody to base the entire Marine Corps off one unit because my first unit sucked. I hated it. I wanted to get out of the Marine Corps, whatever. But because I talked to myself and said, hey, you know what? This can't be the Marine Corps. I'm not saying the grass is greener on the other side, but what I'm saying is it's got to be better somewhere else. And if I go somewhere else and it's not, it just reinforces that, hey, the Marine Corps sucks. I was right. I'm out. But if it doesn't, then it also reinforces my idea of, hey, you know what? I told you it could be better somewhere else. Point being, I re-enlisted, went somewhere else, had a phenomenal time, met great Marines, had great leadership who really cared about me and the Marines I was with, and it was just a great time. Then I was like, hey, had a bad experience, had a good experience. I like the Marine Corps now more than I did. Also, rank helps too. The more higher rank you get, the easier it just becomes. That's just the way it is. And I decided I actually really like the Marine Corps now. Let me stay in again. Stayed, re-enlisted again, stayed in, and I was like, yeah, this is it. I love the Marine Corps. This is what I want to do for the long term, etc. So I almost got out for one of the reasons that a lot of you guys get out for, but that is something that's there. Having more opportunities when you get out. I know guys who are like, I'm doing 4 years in the Marine Corps. I'm using this as a stepping stone or as a tool to get me from here to here, and that's great. They do their 4 times. They don't have any ill feelings. They're just like, my plan was to do this, get out, whatever. Or they're in the Marine Corps and they have interest in something else outside of their MOS they want to pursue as well. And they decide to do that at the same time. They decided, I'm gonna stop doing this to go do that, and that's okay too. The Marine Corps is not the end all be all. The Marine Corps is not everything to everybody. To some people, it's all they know, it's all they have and whatnot, and that's fine. But for others, they're like, this is just a tool. I'm gonna do my time, get the experience, have a good time, and go back to doing whatever. I knew a guy, he was older, he was in the Marines, he's actually a good friend of mine. He was a bartender before the Marine Corps. He was older, he was like 28, 29 when he enlisted. Was a bartender, did 4 years in the Marine Corps. We served together, got out of the Marine Corps, went back to bartending. And I'm like, well, how do you go from like doing bartending, become a Marine, have these great experiences, great work experience, an opportunity to go like just to the moon, and you're like, I'll go back to bartending. He goes, it's what I like. I enjoy doing it. I'm totally cool with it. It's what I enjoy, whatever. And guess what? It's been 12 years. Guess what he's doing right now? Bartending. The guy loves it, has a good time. It fulfills the lifestyle he wants to live. Nothing wrong with that. Good for him. And another guy worked at the post office. Did the whole post office thing. Always talked about it. Loved it. 4 years as a Marine. Got out. Went back to the post office. Loves it even more. Good for him, man. It is what it is. Now, those are some of the reasons that people get out. They want to get out, etc. Now, why do you want to stay in? Right? Let's talk about that. Everyone always talks about getting out when they get out. But why should you want to stay in the Marine Corps and potentially reenlist? Again, my 2 cents, my thoughts. Take it for what it's worth. But a lot of people want to stay in for the brotherhood. The number one thing that I see people talking about, that I've known personally, and that I see coming into my office as prior service Marines, is I miss the brotherhood. I miss the camaraderie. I miss the boys, the girls, whatever. Like, there's just a bond being in the Marine Corps and just the military in general that you just have that you don't have with civilians outside of the Marine Corps. You can have a best friend before you join the Marine Corps. You guys are just tight, you're best friends. You join the Marine Corps, you have a best friend, like lifelong, I will die for you, I will kill for you type best friend that no matter what, that is like your best friend. Those are your boys. Those are the guys you live in the barracks with, you party with, you hang out with, you deploy with, you have good times with, bad times with, etc. You have a cemented bond for life. Not saying you don't with your civilian friends before or after, but I'm saying it's just different. When we finish work, hey boys, hey, let's go grab some beers, let's have a cookout, this and that, awesome. Guys who are working a corporate job or working at some regular job or whatever, when people clock out, they're like, deuces, I'm out. Like, I don't want to see you until I have to see you the next day. There's no bond, there's no camaraderie and whatnot. And I say that because I see it all the time, guys who come back. Yeah, I got out of the Marine Corps. I had a job I was making way more money because there's better jobs out there that pay more money. But I gave that up to come back to the Marine Corps because I missed that. And I was like, damn, dude, that's crazy. But that's what he wanted. So the guy came back in, went back to the unit. He actually left, ironically, and he's back there loving life. Couldn't be happier. So people stand for the camaraderie, the brotherhood. Some people stand for the benefits and the pay. It's stable, it's consistent. If there's a government shutdown, a lockdown, recession or whatnot, you're guaranteed to get paid and be taken care of no matter what. People like that security and that stability. There are other jobs out there that do provide that as well, but a lot of people love the Marine Corps because that's something that's going to be given to them no matter what. Also a retirement. At 20 years, you're eligible for a retirement, which is 50% of your base pay. A lot of other jobs and careers, you don't get retirement until 30 years or beyond in some cases, and people just don't want to wait that long, right? So they stay in for the retirement. Other people stay in because they love the organization. They love what being a Marine means to them. They love their purpose, their sense of pride. They do it for the patriotism and whatever insert reason here. My reason will be different than yours. I decided to stay in the Marine Corps because I liked the way the Marine Corps treated me. I liked the way the lifestyle the Marine Corps allowed me to have. But more importantly, I love the ability to teach and mentor and give back, just like I'm doing right now through this video, right? Is to teach others, share my experience. You know, being a combat instructor was one of the best times I had in my career because I got to have an impact and teach students day in and day out, right? From not knowing nothing to being a proficient rifleman and also the great stuff. And I just loved it, right? Not saying I couldn't do that outside of the Marine Corps, but in the Marine Corps, it just really jives with what I want to do and whatnot. Is the pay the best? Absolutely not. Does it pay enough? It does. But could I get out today and go make it twice or 3 times as much money? Absolutely. But it's not about the money. And a lot of people don't realize that as well. It's not about the money. People typically don't join the Marine Corps for the money or the military in general. Some do, most don't. It's just what the Marine Corps does for you. So to really wrap this up, guys, should you stay in and reenlist in 2022? It's 2023. Oh my God, it's 2023. I've been saying 2022 this whole time. That's hilarious. Should you stay in and reenlist in 2023? That's up to you, guys. That's up to you. What I recommend, get a sticky note, get a piece of paper, write why I should stay, why I should go. And if the reason you want to go is because leadership and personnel, just realize, last little pro tip right here. In the Marine Corps, your leadership changes pretty regularly because people are coming and going. They're getting switched around. They're getting orders, going new places and whatnot. Your officers and whatnot typically stay for about 2 years and they rotate, go somewhere else. It means you get someone new in. So people you work with on the enlisted side, they deploy, they come and go, they come and they move units and whatnot. So you're kind of rotating people more frequently than if you work at, I don't know, IBM. The guy who's the boss has been the boss for 30 years. That guy's not going anywhere. If you don't like him, you're never going to like him. He's not going anywhere. If you work for a lieutenant or a captain or someone right now, you don't like them, endure for a couple years, they're gone. Or volunteer to go somewhere else and do it. You have more of an ability to get away from it than you do being somewhere else. So that's some food for thought as well. If it's a leadership problem, it's temporary, go somewhere else. And if it happens consistently and whatnot, then maybe it's your time to go. But if it doesn't, I'm just telling you from experience that the grass isn't always greener on the side, but it's greener where you water it. That's some rap lyric I heard that just seemed really applicable right now, but probably isn't. But anyways, guys, take that for what it's worth. And if you want to get out, because you have better opportunities and whatnot too, don't let anybody tell you that that's dumb or whatever the case is. Do what you want to do, man. Do what you want to do at the end of the day. I mean, you are a grown-ass person. You're an adult because you're in the military, one way or another. So do what you want to do. Just make sure you're successful at the end of the day. Just make sure you have a plan and execute that plan. And guess what? If the plan doesn't go according to plan, because not everything in our head, it works out perfectly every single time. I do this equals that. But in reality, that's not always the case. If it doesn't work out, try something else. Just never put yourself in a situation to where you're worse off out of the military than you were in. Not saying you should be dependent on the military, but again, just something to think about. And if you get out and you hate it, guess what? Prior service is a thing. Come back in. If you're in Southern California, come see me. Put you back in the Marine Corps. If you want to go to another branch, go to another branch. Go try that out. And if you love that, sweet. If you don't love it, come back to us. Or do whatever, man. Choice is yours. I can answer that question for you only you can. Guys, I appreciate you staying to this long. Like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, share the video, right? Because this channel only grows when the algorithm is fed, and it doesn't get fed from no comments, it doesn't get fed from no likes, it doesn't get fed from no interaction and whatnot. So the more people that see this, the more people that interact with this, the better this video is, the more reach it has, and the more I can help share things like this with people just like you. So I really love the support. I truly appreciate it. And until next time.